Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to what is a resplendent Carrow Road. The sunshine in the pitch is looking immaculate. It feels like ages since Norwich City last played at home. They, of course, host Burnley today in what is absolutely the biggest game of the day. No question about it. There's definitely not a more significant one in terms of the league later on, and everyone will be paying close attention to this one, I'm sure. The team news will be with us in about a minute or so. Some interesting selection choices from what we're led to believe. So we'll bring that to you as and when it drops, and it has dropped just now, joined by Adam Harvey, who's going to talk us through it as well. Norwich City line up like this. They've got Krul in goal, Byram, Hanley, Gibson and Yunulis the back four, Norman and McLean the midfield two, with Dowell on the right, Rashica on the left and Pierre Lace-Malou behind Teemu Pukki in the way the club graphic is lined out. The subs bench, Angus Gunn, Christoph Max Aarons, Brandon Williams, Jacob Sorensen, Lucas Rook, Christos Solis, Jonathan Rowe and Tony Springett. So Adam, to throw that across to you straight away, some really interesting choices. I guess the main one really is that Jonathan Rowe doesn't start for Norwich City, and also no Billy Gilmore this afternoon.
Yeah, I think obviously a lot of fans will be probably somewhat happy maybe to see Billy Gilmore not in the starting 11, in the sense that he's obviously been a regular and certain times this season I think he probably has not performed to the standards that we all expected when he arrived, but obviously it gives an opportunity for Lace-Malou, who has been a bit in and out of the team. I think he was a bit unlucky. I thought he played some pretty good performances around that January period where Norwich were picking up some results, and he's obviously not been given that chance since. But I think, the interesting one is obviously John Rowe. After the Brighton game the other day, Dean Smith obviously said he went against his fellow coaching staff in not starting Rowe for that game, and I think probably today might have been the chance. The home crowd, Norwich obviously need a result, albeit that it probably is too far for them to go and survive now after the Everton result yesterday. But therefore, I think Rowe would have had a bit of freedom to maybe go out there and perform. But obviously, he's opted for Kieran Dowell, who we've not actually seen a lot of this season, or certainly not under Smith. I don't remember him starting too many games. I think maybe the Arsenal game on Boxing Day, I remember him featuring in that one. But not played a lot of football, and when Dowell has started or even been off the bench this season, I don't really feel like he's impacted games. So it's a big opportunity for him, especially if he's going to be in amongst that mix win probably a championship season next year.
Absolutely. So just to recap that Norwich City team then before I read you out the Burnley one in their traditional 4-4-2. Norwich City line up with Krul in goal, Yunulis, Byram, the two full-backs, Hanley and Gibson, the two centre-backs, Norman, McLean and Lace-Malou, the midfield three, Dowell and Rashica either side of Teemu Pukki, and Burnley in their 4-4-2. They're wearing their change strip this afternoon. They've got Pope in goal, former Ipswich Town Academy prospect, I believe. Loughton, Tarkowski, Collins and Taylor, the back four. Lennon, Brownhill, Westwood and Cornet, the midfield four, with Rodriguez and Wout Weghorst up front. Their subs bench, Hennessy, Roberts, Long, Thomas, Cork, McNeil, Stevens, Vidra and Barnes. So they're the two starting lineups. Adam, I mean, just to speak about Billy Gilmore a moment, because I know, as you alluded to there, maybe some fans won't be too disheartened to see him left out of the team. And obviously we wish him well, because from what we're led to believe, he is probably the Norwich City player that is affected with with COVID. How does that midfield shape up without him? I guess this is a good marker, isn't it, to test whether fans have been right in their assessment of him and his performances so far this season.
I feel like today is probably a good day for Billy Gilmore to maybe miss out, in the sense that Burnley obviously are very physical. Everyone knows what Burnley are. They're quite resolute. They're defensively structured, and they've got quite a few tall players. So maybe a Lace-Malou in that midfield, who's that little bit more of a physical presence, a little bit taller. Particularly if Norwich are going to defend set pieces, obviously you imagine Burnley are going to get quite a few corners or free kicks where they're going to have big men that are going to try and win the ball in the air. So I think maybe a Lace-Malou in there, and obviously you've got Norman and McLean that are as well a little bit taller and maybe a little bit more defensively minded compared to Billy Gilmore, who likes to spray passes forward, albeit that this season maybe we've not seen that as much as we wanted to. So I feel like maybe it's not the worst game for Gilmore to miss out, and obviously if Lace-Malou could put a performance in, then it might prove fans right that Gilmore shouldn't have started as many games as he has this season.
Yes, absolutely, and opportunity knocks, I suppose, for Pierre Lace-Malou, who I think we felt maybe didn't perform as well as he could have done at Brighton. No Abu Kamara on the bench as well, which means Norwich City's bench doesn't contain a recognised striker. For all that we talk about, kind of the pressure that's placed on Teemu Pukki for goals, and particularly Norwich City's output, he scored pretty much half of their goals this season. doesn't really help him, does it? I suppose is the point. Josh Sargent obviously unfit and unavailable, and no Adam Eder as well, who's recovering from that long-term knee issue. But this just emphasises, doesn't it, how much pressure Norwich City have on Teemu Pukki to score goals, because even when those two are fit and available, there was still an over-reliance on him to get goals this season.
Yeah, if he's obviously been the main man of the season, I wouldn't put it past him potentially winning Player of the Season, or at least being in the top two. Obviously, anyone that wants to go back and listen to the Monday Night Club from last week or the week before, we kind of mentioned about the sort of debate of whether Pukki should be in that mixed third Player of the Season, and obviously he scored 8 Premier League goals, and irrespective of the fact that he scored 8 goals at Premier League level, that's very difficult to do, especially in a team that's so low on confidence and ultimately doesn't score goals. So I think the fact he's managed to still bag 8, and obviously he got 11 last time out in the Premier League as well. So, and he's had chances. There's no dismissing the fact that he probably should have more goals this season. I mean, he's had opportunities where you think probably should have buried that. I mean, even that sort of go back to that game against Leeds last minute, and he's had opportunities, but at the end of the day, he's still a natural goal scorer, and he's the only player I'd say in this Norwich team that is a natural goal scorer. Obviously, Eder was starting to show glimpses of maybe that he was progressing, especially under Smith. I think we saw the Everton game. He looked really sort of imposing. He could hold the ball up a little bit, where obviously Pukki doesn't really have that in his game. But if he obviously needs to strike up that relationship with Rashica today. Obviously, those two, I think we've seen glimmers of maybe they've got a little bit of a relationship in terms of getting opportunities for each other, starting to build. So hopefully today, Rashica up against sort of a more physical Burnley team, if he can use his pace and find Pukki in the areas that we know Pukki can get into, then hopefully he can add to those his goal scoring tally from this season.
How big of an afternoon is this for Kieran Dowell? He's a player we've not really seen too much of this season, and when we have seen, maybe he's failed to take the opportunity. So big onus on him, I suppose, this afternoon to prove that he is capable of producing the goods in the Premier League for Norwich City.
I think obviously Kieran Dowell's a player that's maybe had that spells in the Premier League also with Everton, and he's never really maybe cut that Premiership level. And I think obviously he's always proved at Championship level that he's a good player. Obviously still a young player as well. People forget that he's been around quite a while, but he's still very young. So he's got a big opportunity today. He probably needs to take it, especially with a team like Burnley, who might be joining Norwich in the Championship next season. This ultimately could feel a little bit like a Championship game, albeit that it is still a Premiership game. And so I think he needs to prove a point, especially when you'd imagine he's going to be one of the front runners for a start place next season if Norwich are going to be in the Championship where we expect they're going to be. So it's a big opportunity, and I think he needs to perform, because he hasn't really performed when he's been given opportunities this season. I remember at Arsenal away, I think he started that one, and he just kind of, the game passed him by. You almost forgot he was playing. So I think, big opportunity for him today in a game that Norwich probably have got a little bit of freedom now, in the sense that they're probably going to go down after the Everton result. So there's no real pressure. So if he can perform, and again, it's a big opportunity for him and Rashica, and in the sort of wider positions.
Yes, absolutely, and probably no surprises in Burnley. So I believe it's one change, I think, for them, Matthew Lowton coming in for Connor Roberts. Beyond that, I think it's as you were, without double checking, from their win against Everton in midweek. We know what this Burnley side is. We know what approach they will take today. Without Weghorst, they've got someone who's, I think, 6'7", playing up front. He's an absolute monster, and certainly was in the Bundesliga. So they're going to look to hit him early. So I mean, and you were at the press conference where I asked Dean Smith about this, in terms of, do you have to focus on their physicality and then earn the right to play the style of football you want to play, I suppose, or I don't know. It feels like that's really the only way Norwich City can go this afternoon to withstand what will be Burnley's intense pressure, certainly airily, you would expect.
I think we need a similar performance from Hanley and Tim Krul as what we saw last week at Brighton. I think they're going to face long balls. They're going to face a lot of set pieces, and Burnley are a physical team. Everyone knows what they are, and obviously it works for them in the Premier League. They've managed to stay up there for quite a successive number of seasons now, and they are probably the only team in the league that play the way they do. That's a lot more old-fashioned and old school. But I think Norwich can exploit that. I mean, even at Turf Moor earlier in the season, I thought Norwich defended pretty well that day against Burnley in pretty tough conditions. I think that was a late September, early October game. It wasn't particularly nice weather conditions, and Norwich dealt with it quite well. So they need to do the same today, and maybe if they can get the likes of Rashica running at them, maybe if Burnley are tiring towards the end, get someone like John Rowe on, a little bit of fresh legs, a little bit of pace. And I think because obviously Burnley haven't really got that element of pace in their team, so Norwich probably need to exploit that, get in behind, and find Pookie in the areas that we know that he can be in, and Norwich obviously got to take their chances today, because you do feel that if it's 0-0 and it's going towards the end of the game, a set piece for Burnley, and they're always potentially going to nick it 1-0, because that's the sort of team they are.
Absolutely, Adam, thank you very much. Let's run through the teams again just before we leave you. So Norwich City line up with Tim Krul in goal, Byram, Gibson, Hanley and Yanulis the back four, Norman, Lisa Malou and Kane McLean the midfield three, Dowell on the right, Rashica on the left, with Timo Pukki up front. Their subs bench: Angus Gunn, Max Aarons, Christoph Zimmerman, Lucas Rupp, Christoph Schollis, Jacob Sorensen, Brandon Williams, Tony Springett and John Rowe, who doesn't start this afternoon. Burnley line up with Nick Pope in goal, Loughton, Tarkovsky, Collins and Taylor the back four for them. Lennon, Westwood, Brownhill and Cornet the midfield four, with Rodriguez and Veghorst up front. Their subs: Wayne Hennessy, Jack Cork, Ashley Barnes, Dwight McNeil, Connor Roberts, Dale Stevens, Mateo Vidra, Kevin Long and Bobby Thomas. It's going to be a fascinating afternoon. Norwich City obviously 10 points adrift of Everton. So let's see what today brings. Hopefully a little bit of optimism, and if not that, then hopefully at least a goal. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you